Please welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show our Obamacare lawyer, Craig Gottwals. We'll have a link to Craig's business in case you want to talk to Craig. You know what he does? He's an expert in benefits and insurance, and he's an attorney. Hello, Craig.
Good morning, Jack and Joe. How are you?
And a fishing guide and an avid mountain biker. And we will get out, Craig. I swear to God. I'm not putting you off. I'm just crazy busy. So what is the latest on this blessing that the president has bestowed upon America?
Well, as you guys know, I try to work and look ahead at what's going to happen and give you sort of a tip on where I see this going. And a few trends that have sort of developed in the last couple of weeks are one problem the insurance companies have is that they really have no idea how bad or good the risk is that they've enrolled because they're not allowed to ask health questions on an applicant. So they've enrolled these people, you know, whether it be 2 million or 8 million or whomever you believe and how they're cutting that number. But
most of whom already had insurance.
Well, that's the other point.
Right.
One of the nationwide insurers I spoke to said of the new enrollees, now they wouldn't tell me how many they enrolled, but they told me 11% of them were uninsured. So 89% were just people that were on another insurance paying their own way.
Right.
And alternatively, now the taxpayer can most likely subsidize what they're doing. 11% were uninsured.
Many of whom were booted off of their policy, which is why they went ahead. So, yeah, so much for the $30 million. But anyway, so the insurance companies have no idea what they've got right now. And this matters to us because if it turns out what they've got, it causes them to lose great gobs of money. The taxpayers will pick up that tab as well, right?
That's exactly right. And it's causing some really interesting trends because, see, they've sliced and diced these rules so many ways. What insurance companies aren't allowed to do is, of course, discriminate based upon health status or age. Well, and age they can to a limited way. But what they're doing is they're doing subtle kind of like marketing things. Like, for example, they're offering really good gym memberships while simultaneously cutting out all of the specialists they have for very expensive procedures. Now, why would you do that? Well, because when the word leaks out that you're really the insurance company that's known for handling healthy people and giving them gym memberships and good eating programs, but you really aren't a very good insurer for treating a very expensive kind of cancer, guess what kind of risk you're going to attract in the long run?
Oh, my God.
Isn't that insidious?
That is a beautiful example of the unintended consequences of the government interfering with the market.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and I knew that's why you'd like it.
Yeah, God dang it. Unbelievable.
So are you into the fly fishing or the rod and reel fishing?
Rod and reel, Jack.
Gotcha.
We refer to those fly guys as, you know, kind of the more dainty crowd.
Oh,
really?
Wait a minute now. Oh, why? So much polarization. This is the most polarized time in American fishing that I can remember.
And the fly fishing people I know just go on and on about how it's changed their lives and it's a philosophy in itself and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah.
I'm not sure we can be friends, Craig.
They would refer to a bass fisherman like myself as a Bubba bank fisherman drinking a beer.
Okay, I get it now. So it's
a highbrow, lowbrow deal.
Because the people that I know are into fly fishing, a lot of them are like very highly educated, enjoy the arts poet types.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that would be the fly fishing thing. And then the sort of guy who's sitting in a bass boat in a pond trying to catch a bass, which I've done a lot of and enjoyed, drinking beer, is a completely different guy. It's like NASCAR versus the opera, really.
Exactly. They catch one fish all day, and it's a life-changing experience for them. I throw around baits the size of their fish and catch 10-pound bass. And
my role here, my hallmark, which Vince can certainly tell you, is bringing people together.
Oh, yeah. And yelling at the staff.
I love both. Why can't we love both? Why must we hate? All right, so talk about the next wave of folks losing their insurance forced onto the exchanges.
So the interesting socioeconomic experiment we're going to have coming up is, we just had – they talk about 5 million policies. As we've talked about before, it's really 10 to 12 million people that lost their insurance. Now, those were people that were primarily entrepreneurs or self-employed people who had
like your insurance,
policies.
You can keep your insurance.
Right, and they didn't keep it. Those people are savvy people. They're used to going out and getting a broker. They're used to doing their own research. They're running a business. They're typically people that are on the ball and going to replace that insurance. The 50 million or so that we've got coming this year, guys, they're all people who work for small businesses of less than 100 employees. And they're people who have gotten their insurance in a passive way. They're people who haven't had to go out and ask the questions, go on the websites, look for navigators. And so I really truly believe that we're going to see roughly two-thirds of these people not bother replacing it because they don't want to go through the headache. And they're people, like Jack has said many times, when I was a young kid, there's no way I would have put up with this headache, right?
Right.
And that's who these people are. They're not the first wave of people were entrepreneurs. They were used to doing this.
So this is going to be 10 times as big, and it's people who are unused to the idea of going out and puzzling through what insurance they should have.
I've never done it.
This is going to be enormous.
I've never done it. I've always had insurance through a company. It'd be a completely new experience to me to try to navigate the waters. I would dread it. I'd do it because I got little kids. If I was single, even now, because I'm relatively healthy, I might try a little bit and then just say, I'll take my chances.
Well, and you could do that. You could sort of try a little because they ultimately have to let you on the plans, right? So you could punt the ball down the road. You know, Joe, you were mentioning something in the last segment, and I wanted to bring it up because this nudge toward a sub 29-hour work week for your listeners, Obamacare only requires that you provide insurance to people working 30 or more hours a week. Right. So what we're going to see starting next year is a lot of people getting pushed down to 29 hours because then employers don't have to buy their health care. Well, you're not going to push a guy who's working or a gal who's working 50 hours a week down to 29. You're going to push the people who are working between 30 and 37 hours, those people that are closest. And the New York Times just published yesterday in their economics blogs, that population of people is 2-to-1 women. So you could
It's a war on women.
It's a war on women.
Obama's war on women. Well, and to the point I was trying to make, this will seriously hurt lower-income people. Obamacare will damage that. Well, it'll turn these people into what's called 29ers. They'll have their hours cut.
Yeah. And then there's the 49ers, which you guys have talked about, and no, they don't just lose to the Seahawks. Those are companies that are below 50, because if you're below 50 as an employer, you're not required to buy health care for your people.
And I actually know 2 guys who are in the high 40s who've said, we're not going to grow anymore. I'm just not going to because of this. Now, real quick, Craig, our Obamacare lawyer's on the line. I want to go back to the wave of horror that's going to happen this year when those 50 million employees lose their insurance. And this is a question properly posed to a legislator, I think. I'd like to get a Republican and Democrat both at gunpoint and ask them this question. When it turns out Obamacare's led to not 30 million uninsured getting insurance, but now 50 million people are uninsured, do we scrap the piece of crap and try something different, or what? That's going to be crazy.
I hope so. I mean, you can only think they might. You know, and we could spend another segment at another time going through the Coburn-Burr-Hatch plan that was released on Monday, I guess it was.
I'm going to go Wolf Blitzer on you. Good plan or bad plan?
Better plan. It's not great, but it's decent. It makes some improvements. Yeah, I can't say it's good because it's sort of, I hate to use the term Obamacare light, but in some respects it's revolutionary better than Obamacare. In other respects, it's Obamacare light. So I was thinking of putting it into a grid, Joe, and sending it to you, and then you guys could just pick and choose which elements you want to talk about at a future date.
I like a good grid.
Yeah.
Craig Gottwald's the Obamacare lawyer. We've got a link to Craig, so if you need to consult him or speak with him or the rest of it, or
talk
if you want to go
fly fishing.
Fishing? Not fly fishing.
No, bass fishing.
I'm going to go bass fishing with you.
Trout is bait in our world.
I'm going to go bass fishing with you and spend the entire time talking about fly fishing. Just to piss you off.
You'll end up in the lake, Joe. That wouldn't be good for you.
All right, Craig. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, guys.
We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.